What's up, y'all? It's your girl Nick, and welcome back to the fourth house on the right. This is a beautiful, beautiful Sunday afternoon, and I wanted to take advantage of it. So I'm out here in the garden, and I have one goal today, just one, to tackle some weeds so that I can have space ready to go when my seedlings from inside come out into the garden. I don't want to have to do a lot of work when I'm ready to plant those. So the only thing is that I have to go slow because even though I'm fully recovered, I have to ramp up slowly, not overdo it. So with that said, I'm going to turn y'all around and show y'all what we're working with and tell you how I'm going to tackle this without getting down and too dirty. This right here is one of the original beds that I put in back in 2017. Um, and I did plant out some brassicas over here. I think I think I put broccoli and cauliflower on this side. You can see there, there. My seeds move around because, of course, the water, the birds, all sorts of things happen. So the seeds, the actual plants that are coming up are not what I are not in the position that I put them in, but they're still there, and that's all I really care about. What's also still there are all these weeds. I did clean this bed out before the freeze when I first planted these items over here. And I know a lot of you guys are going to say that if you don't remember what's there, just use, this item or that item and use garden markers to mark everything. I used to do that. I've done a lot of different methods. I've actually written on rocks and on bricks and all sorts of things. But now I just use my garden journal to tell me what I planted in each bed. This one, all the way across the garden, as a matter of fact. I just use that to to remind me what I planted where. So for this season, I will say there were brassicas over here, there was broccoli and cauliflower, so that I know not to put brassicas here the next season. And that goes for everywhere, so I don't have to have markers anymore. But what I really want to talk about is dealing with these weeds. So just real quick, in Houston, we have every single type of weed known to mankind. We have broadleaf weeds, we have carpet-like weeds, we have weeds with super long taproots. So there is no one tool that we can buy that will tackle all of those weeds. The only tool that will tackle all of them equally are hands. That's it. But because I don't want to overdo it, I'm not going to use any of the tools that I have. Let me show you really quickly. Normally for these weeds, I would use my hoe, and that works great because it pretty much breaks up the big clumps, and I can just pull them out and throw them onto the lawn and gather them later. And then for more of the weeds that have more of the long taproot, where I can easily find the center, I would use this one. But today, I'm not going to use either one of those. What I'm going to do is on this side right here, where you see there's nothing but weeds, there's nothing actually planted there. There will be more brassicas on this side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull only the weeds by hand that are around the seedlings that are already coming up. I'm just going to go in and pull as many of those up as I can. That way they won't be competing. But everything over there, I'm just going to, I'm going to pull up a little bit of that. I'm not going to worry about getting it totally clean. And then I'm going to lay down some cardboard, wet it down, and then top it off with some soil. This works for me really, really well. And it's actually how I started my entire garden. That's how I smothered the grass and just planted on top of that. That's why these beds, I call them semi-raised, but that's why they're the way that they are, because that's the way I started them. So this is going to work for me. The only issue I've ever found with using this method is that I have ants try to make their homes underneath the cardboard. But A lot of times when I've done that, I didn't cover the cardboard with, say, mulch or more dirt. So this time I've learned my lesson. I'm gonna cover it with dirt. So I'm gonna get started. So I'm just gonna go in and take out weeds that are close to the veg that I want to grow because I don't want those weeds to compete with those veggies. It's not a lot and it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just trying to make sure that I get as close around these particular vegetables. And as I'm doing this, I'm recognizing that there are multiple vegetables planted closely together. So I'm going to take those out and transplant them in other places so that they have room to grow. And here we go again. I'm just doing it again around this is garlic here, and there's a lot. But now I realize that I need to clear this space out. So I'm going to use my hoe and go ahead and loosen up the rest of these weeds. Sometimes weeding is so addictive, I promise you. All right, y'all, I'm done weeding. It's getting kind of warm out here now, and I have a confession to make. I kind of went too far with my weeding. I've said before that weeding can sometimes be addictive, and it absolutely was addictive for me today. Sometimes you get going and you start seeing that beautiful soil underneath that carpet of weeds, and it feels really good and it looks really good, and I just get lost in it sometimes, just like I get lost in the garden in general. But I almost forgot the whole intent of this video. And that was to show you the technique for suppressing the weeds. So I did try to leave a little bit once I realized, oh, I'm taking too much. Tried to leave a little bit. So here's all the weeds that I ended up pulling up. Quite a bit of weeds. But here's the garden bed. Like, it's such a huge difference. And really what happened here was beyond just me seeing the soil and loving it and just saying I'm just going to do it. I found that there were these brassicas. Like I said, I think there's broccoli and cauliflower over here. I'm not sure how many of each, but I wasn't realizing that I had planted all this much. I counted 12 plants, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and this baby right here, was over there somewhere, and I think that might be a mustard, possibly. Once they start coming up, I usually know what they are. That's why I don't mark things. That's another reason I don't mark things. But I would not have known that there were actually 12 seedlings in here had I not been in there weeding. So basically what I did was I moved them and spaced them around so that there would be enough space for them to actually grow without competing with each other. So went overboard with that, but this is now going to be so much better than what we had before. Like I said, I almost forgot the intent of the video, which was to show you that I'm going to lay down the cardboard. There's my cardboard over there. Also had to deal with some ants, so that's what you see in that jug there. Some organic pesticide, which normally I don't mess with the ants in the garden because they don't bother anything. But when you're in there working, they can be a nuisance, and I have gotten eaten up by ants before, so I'm not trying to do that today. So, moving right along, there's my cardboard, and here is some dirt that I mixed up yesterday when it was super duper beautiful out here as well. And this is basically just local topsoil and local compost. And then the big shards that you see, let's see if I can show you, these big pieces like that is like the remnants from the potting soil that I sifted. So those are the big bits that were in the bag of potting soil. I sifted those out and just added them to the compost and the topsoil. And I'm gonna get going on showing you this method of laying down the cardboard. And again, this is how I started all of my beds, actually, and I'm going to link down in the description how I started my beds. And that's how I expanded my beds all the way across the perimeter of the yard. So let's get going on that. But first, one other tip. I know a lot of people are going to say, well, when you put your seeds out, why didn't you just put them out like where you wanted them? I did, but like I said, you have no control over nature. You have no control over rain, over birds and worms and ants, and even our Lola doggy. I have caught her in the garden when there was like not much growing. She'll jump in there and things move around, and you can't control anything. You can't control any of God's creatures, even sometimes the domesticated ones. So it's easier to me to just thin things, not even thin them, but move things around, transplant them, because that's what you do anyway. You buy starts at the store and you just transplant them. We start seeds indoors and you just transplant them. So that's what I did. That's easy for me. Now we can get going on this cardboard piece. So here is my cardboard. Standard issue, nothing special there. I just made sure to take off all the tape, any labels, and now I'm just going to cut it down to size. This little area, I don't know if you can see it right here, but it's not very big. So I think I want this panel right here, and I'm just going to use a standard, regular, everyday box cutter, being very, very careful, and cut the side that I want. Actually, this side is much easier. Well, I've already done it now. So let's just go ahead and cut it. That's all good. Like I said, safety first, be careful. There we go. Then super simple. Just gonna lay it down. Down all the way across. That's good enough for me. And I'm going to cut another piece to go back towards the back of the bed. When I first started gardening, everything had to be perfect. There had to be, the beds had to be perfect. I wanted no weeds, I wanted no animals, I wanted no anything. I just wanted black gold soil and perfectly shaped beds and all the stuff. And I've since learned that there's no such thing as perfection. No such thing. So you gotta create your own sense of that and work within that. And as long as I'm growing food, and as long as I'm close to my maker, my father, and as long as I get to channel my grandmother, which is what started me doing all of this in the first place, I'm happy. And that's the most important thing. Feeding the family, yeah, that's a bonus, but I'm happy. I'm peaceful out here. And like I said, I get to be close to nature, be close to God, and be close to my grandmother, who I call Mama. I miss her so much. So, okay, I'm breathing a little hard. It really wasn't that hard, but it's been a while since I've been out here. So this is also my exercise. I forgot to mention that. Most of my exercise, I do weight train, I do a little bit of strength training, but this is exercise for me. So now, got the cardboard down. I'm just gonna wet it down. This is gonna take a while, so I'm gonna do this and come back and show you the next step. And meanwhile, I'm just going to clean up my mess, get all these weeds out of the way. Nobody wants to see that, so be back in a hot second. All right, so now that I've got my cardboard laid out, and you can see it's looking kind of dry because I did wet it down, but that process takes a long time, and I didn't want to have to wait for that. So now I'm just going to show you the next step. And then I will come back and wet that down some more. I can wet it down through the dirt. So that brings us to the next step. Just dump the dirt. And what I really want is to just weight down this cardboard so that there's no gaps between the cardboard and the soil and this extra layer of dirt. So that's pretty much it. That's how this works, y'all. And now I will have no weeds I use these, I either use rocks, I use bricks. These are flagstones from the front yard that we were no longer using. To just weight down the cardboard while we're watering it in. And then, again, like I said, just get all the dirt in there. That's gonna weigh on the cardboard. And then we water in, and we water in. Eventually the cardboard will just kind of decompose and become part of the soil. But the great thing is that when we put the transplants out here, it's easy breezy. We can just dig down into the dirt and into the cardboard and stick our transplant in there. And we don't have to worry about weeds. We don't have to worry about pretty much anything at that point. And that's it, y'all. Really quickly, I've shown you this. I'm gonna need a lot more dirt than this, but you don't need to see that. You just need to see the process itself. And this is it. And we are done. So, you guys, I really hope that this is helpful, especially for my newbie gardeners that are feeling like things have to be so hard and so expensive. It's not. We work smarter, not harder. So this is just one little technique. Actually, I think I showed several techniques about like these transplants and, you know, is it easier to sow seeds and try to keep those separate or put out transplants? Is it easier to mix soil and buy separate soil? What's easier? What's less expensive? What's more eco-friendly? What's more sustainable? I hope that you're getting all of that from these videos. And I hope that you will like and subscribe if you are getting some great things out of these videos. So until next time, thank you guys for tuning in. Until next time, bye you guys. We need more dirt.